was cloaked in darkness, save for the faint glow of moonlight filtering through the curtains. She knew she was taking a risk, snooping around Benjamin's private space, but a nagging intuition urged her on. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for any clue that might shed light on her husband's mysterious behavior. And then, like a beacon in the night, she spotted it, a slip of paper peeking out from beneath the corner of the rug. With trembling hands, Ojeki knelt down and retrieved the paper, her heart racing with anticipation. As she unfolded the crumpled parchment, her breath caught in her throat. It was a letter, written in a language she didn't recognize, adorned with strange symbols and sigils. Confusion knitted her brow as she tried to decipher its meaning, but one word leaped out at her with chilling clarity: sacrifice. A cold shiver ran down Ojeki's spine as realization dawned upon her. Her husband, the man she had vowed to love and cherish, was involved in something sinister, a secret society that demanded blood in exchange for power. And worse still, it seemed he had sacrificed her own flesh and blood, her beloved brothers, to satisfy their twisted desires. Anger bubbled up inside her, fierce and unyielding. How could Benjamin betray her in such a heinous manner? How could he play a hand in the deaths of her innocent siblings? Determination hardened in Ojeki's heart like tempered steel. She would not rest until she uncovered the truth, until she brought her husband's dark deeds to light. With a sense of purpose driving her forward, Ojeki knew she couldn't face this alone. And then, as if in response to her silent plea, a presence enveloped her, a familiar warmth that stirred in the depths of her soul. It was her oldest brother, Obinna, reaching out to her from beyond the grave, offering his guidance and protection. Filled with newfound courage, Ojeki clutched the letter to her chest and whispered a promise into the night. She would uncover the secret hidden within her husband's shadowy world. She would unearth the truth behind her family's tragedies. And with the steadfast resolve of a woman scorned, she would stop at nothing to seek justice for the blood that stained her hands. If you enjoy our stories, please consider subscribing, and also turning on the post notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new story. As Ojeki sat in the dimly lit study, the weight of the revelation pressing down on her, memories of her family's tragedies flooded her mind like a torrential downpour. She closed her eyes, allowing herself to be swept away to a time when laughter still echoed through their home and the specter of death had yet to darken their doorstep. In the depths of her recollection, she saw Chinedu, her youngest brother, his laughter ringing like silver bells in the air. He had been the light of their family, his smile capable of chasing away even the darkest of clouds. But then, one fateful day, he had ventured too close to the river's edge, drawn in by the tantalizing allure of its sparkling waters. And in the blink of an eye, he was gone, claimed by the merciless embrace of the river, leaving behind nothing but shattered dreams and a gaping void in their hearts. Tears welled in Ojeki's eyes as she relived the agony of that loss, the raw ache of grief still fresh after all these years. But her reverie was abruptly shattered by the memory of another tragedy, one that cut even deeper than the first. Obinna, her oldest brother, stood tall and proud in her mind's eye, his gentle smile masking the turmoil that raged within. He had always been her protector, her guiding light in a world fraught with darkness. But fate had other plans for him, cruel and unforgiving as it always was. A tragic accident claimed his life, snuffing out the flame of his existence in an instant, leaving Ojeki reeling with pain and sorrow. In the wake of these losses, a creeping sense of dread washed over Ojeki, chilling her to the bone. It was as if an invisible hand was guiding the strings of fate, pulling them ever closer to the brink of despair. She couldn't shake the feeling that these were no mere accidents, but a series of orchestrated events designed to tear her family apart. With each passing moment, Ojeki's determination grew, fueled by the flames of righteous anger burning within her. She would not rest until she uncovered the truth behind her brother's deaths, until she brought those responsible to justice. And as she opened her eyes to the harsh reality of her situation, she knew that her journey had only just begun. As Ojeki grappled with the weight of her discoveries, a strange sense of protection enveloped her like a comforting embrace. Despite the horror of her revelations, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone, that her brothers, in their ethereal form, were watching over her, guiding her on her path to truth and justice. With a heart heavy with sorrow and determination burning bright in her eyes, Ojeki confronted her husband, Benjamin, about his involvement in her brother's deaths. She found him in their shared living space, his demeanor calm and composed, a facade that crumbled in the face of her accusation. At first, Benjamin denied any wrongdoing, his words dripping with honeyed lies as he attempted to deflect her suspicions. He painted a picture of innocence, claiming that jealous neighbors were behind the planted evidence, desperate to sow discord in their marriage. But Ojeki saw through his facade, her gaze unwavering as she saw the truth reflected in his eyes. "You are a liar," she declared, her voice trembling with righteous anger. "You are just trying to cover up your evil deeds, but my God has exposed you today." Benjamin's mask slipped, his facade crumbling as desperation flickered across his features. He knew he could no longer hide behind his lies, no longer deceive the woman who had once trusted him with her heart. But still, he clung to his denials, unwilling to confess the sins that stained his hands. But Ojeki remained firm, her resolve unshaken by his protestations. She would not be swayed by his lies, nor would she rest until she had uncovered the truth. With every fiber of her being, she vowed to persevere, to unravel the tangled web of deceit that threatened to tear her world apart. And as she stood before her husband, a pillar of strength amidst the storm of deception, Ojeki knew that her journey was far from over. For she had glimpsed the darkness that lurked within the heart of her beloved, and she would stop at nothing to banish it from their lives forever. Benjamin's suggestion hung in the air like a heavy fog, casting a shadow of doubt over Ojeki's already troubled mind. Despite her misgivings, she knew that her uncle, Chibik, held the key to unlocking the secrets of her family's past. With a heavy heart and a reluctant determination, she resolved to seek the truth, no matter the cost. The journey to her old family home was a bittersweet pilgrimage, each step carrying her further from the safety of her present and deeper into the tangled web of her past. Memories of happier times danced at the edges of her consciousness, fleeting glimpses of a childhood long since lost to the ravages of time. But as she approached the familiar homestead, now owned by her uncle, a sense of foreboding settled over her like a suffocating blanket. She knew that confronting Chibik would not be easy, that dredging up the ghost of their shared history would only reopen old wounds that had never truly healed. When Ojeki finally stood before her uncle, her heart heavy with the weight of her accusations, she found herself confronted with a man she barely recognized, a shadow of the jovial figure she had once known. His eyes were haunted by the specter of his own guilt, and his words stumbled forth like stones tumbling down a mountainside. After hours of tearful pleading and fruitless arguments, Benjamin's suggestion echoed in Ojeki's mind like a persistent drumbeat. "Just ask him," he had said, his voice tinged with a hint of desperation. And so, with a newfound determination burning bright within her, Ojeki posed the question that had plagued her for so long. "My uncle," she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I know that he is a wicked man for stealing all of my father's wealth and leaving us in the street to die in the village. What can he possibly have to do with this? Benjamin's silence spoke volumes, his eyes betraying the truth that his lips dared not utter. And as Ojeki stared into the abyss of her uncle's guilt-ridden gaze, she knew that the answers she sought lay buried within the depths of his tortured soul. With a steely resolve, she vowed to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Uncle Chibik stood before Ojeki, his shoulders bowed with the weight of his sins, his eyes brimming with unshed tears. The air crackled with tension as he prepared to unburden himself of the dark secrets that had haunted him for so long. With a voice thick with emotion, Chibik cried out, his words a damning indictment of his own guilt. "My children, please forgive me," he pleaded, his voice echoing off the walls of the room. "I have sinned against God and men. I did it. I did it." Ojeki's heart pounded in her chest as she listened to her uncle's confession, her mind reeling with disbelief. "Uncle, what are you talking about?" she demanded, her voice trembling with emotion. "You did what exactly?" And then, like a dam breaking under the weight of its own corruption, Chibik's words poured forth in a torrent of anguish and regret. He confessed to orchestrating the tragedies that had befallen their family, to seeking vengeance for a perceived wrong committed against him by Ojeki's father. "I am responsible for all the suffering and hardship that you people have been going through," he admitted, his voice choked with tears. "Your mother and father's death, and the deaths of your innocent brothers, it was all my doing." Ojeki's mind whirled with the magnitude of her uncle's revelation, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place with chilling clarity. She listened in horror as Chibik recounted the events that had led to his descent into darkness, the twisted web of jealousy and betrayal that had consumed his soul. With a heavy heart, her uncle finally confessed, his voice trembling with regret. "I bear the weight of responsibility for all those deaths," he acknowledged, his words carrying the burden of remorse. "Your parents, and your innocent brothers, all of their passing is in my hands. I sought vengeance for what I perceived as wrongdoing by your father." In disbelief, Ojeki questioned him further, "What could my father have done to deserve such retribution?" Her uncle's response was painful to hear. "He took away someone dear to me, your mother," he revealed. "We had shared a bond for years, but your father, my once closest friend, came between us because of his financial advantage." However, Ojeki knew the truth behind her mother's departure from her uncle's side. She had fled due to his abusive behavior fueled by alcohol, culminating in a tragic incident where he severely harmed her, mistakenly believing he had taken her life. Instead of seeking help, he fled, leaving her mother unconscious on the ground. It was Ojeki's father who had acted swiftly, rushing her mother to the hospital and saving her life. Since that day, her uncle had harbored deep resentment towards her father, vowing vengeance against him and his descendants. Years later, it came to light that Ojeki's husband, Benjamin, had been introduced to a clandestine organization by her uncle. Entrusted with the family's travel plans, her uncle played a sinister role in orchestrating Benjamin's proposal to Ojeki, knowing the society's demands would include a sacrifice. His intention was to eradicate Ojeki's father's lineage. As the truth emerged, Ojeki grappled with the profound betrayal within her family. Her mother's departure had not been voluntary, she had fled for her safety. With this revelation, Ojeki resolved to seek justice for her family and confront her uncle's misdeeds, determined to uncover the full extent of his actions. And then, at last, the truth was laid bare, a truth that cut deeper than any blade, a truth that threatened to tear apart the fabric of her very existence. Her mother had not left her father for another man, as she had always believed. No, she had fled from the monstrous cruelty of her uncle, a man driven to madness by his own demands. As the full extent of Chibik's depravity unfolded before her, Ojeki felt a cold fury simmering beneath the surface of her skin. But even as her anger threatened to consume her, a steely determination took root in her heart. She would not allow her family's legacy to be tainted by her uncle's sins. She would not rest until she had cleansed their name of the stain of his betrayal. And as she looked into her uncle's tear-stained eyes, Ojeki knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. But she was ready to face whatever challenges lay in her way, fueled by a burning desire for justice and a steadfast determination to set things right. The air crackled with tension as Ojeki's condemnation hung heavy in the room, her words a bitter indictment of her uncle's sins. Her eyes blazed with righteous anger as she stared down the man who had brought so much pain and suffering upon her family. "You evil man," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "It shall never be well with you." Uncle Chibik's face paled at her words, his eyes wide with fear as he realized the depth of his niece's fury. He fell to his knees before her, his hands clasped in desperate supplication. "My daughter, please forgive me," he pleaded, his voice trembling with emotion. "Your brother's ghost is after my life, and I do not want to die." But Ojeki's heart was hardened against her uncle's pleas, her mind consumed with thoughts of justice and retribution. She could not forgive him for the pain he had caused, for the lives he had shattered with his greed and ambition. As she looked into her uncle's tear-stained eyes, Ojeki grappled with the weight of betrayal that threatened to crush her spirit. But even in the face of overwhelming darkness, she clung to the flickering flame of hope that burned within her heart. With a steely determination, she vowed to seek justice for her family's untimely deaths, to ensure that her uncle faced the consequences of his actions. And as she stood before him, her resolve unyielding, Ojeki knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril. But she was ready to face whatever challenges lay in her path, fueled by the unwavering love she held for her family and the burning desire for truth and redemption that pulsed within her veins. And so, with her head held high and her heart aflame with determination, Ojeki prepared to embark on the greatest journey of her life, a journey that would test her courage, her strength, and her will to persevere in the face of adversity. If you're hungry for more intriguing stories, check out our next video. Click here.